Okay, welcome to week 9 of Media Web Coding. This week is a short week because it is fall break Monday and Tuesday, but I wanted to get at least one of the videos up early this week so that anyone that wanted to work or get an early start on this could. I should have the rest of the content up on Wednesday when classes resume after the break. Okay, so what I want to do is now that we're in the second half of the semester, we're going to be using Dreamweaver a lot more. Prior to this, I had been showing you a lot of how to do things in a text editor, WordPad or TextEdit or whatever. And that's because I wanted you to get used to the idea of learning how to code by hand long form. It's kind of like the long division of coding. And Dreamweaver is kind of like the short division. It has a lot of shortcuts. And we already had an intro video to Dreamweaver, but from now on, I'm probably going to be using Dreamweaver more of the time, but still doing the coding by hand in the text editing part of Dreamweaver. Okay, so before we get into cascading style sheets, which is CSS, before we get into CSS later this week, I wanted to finish talking about how to format tables, which we started with a little bit before the midterm. Okay, so let's go to the website index page, and I'm going to say open with Adobe Dreamweaver. Okay, so there we have it. And then I'm going to show you, we're going to look at this in the split screen mode so that we can see this whole, what it looks like, sort of a preview of what it would look like in a browser. So I'm going to go to Split Code Live. So on the left, we have the quote unquote live version, and on the right hand side, we have the code version. Okay, if you remember, this is the table we were working with: A, B, C, D, left E blank, F, G, H, I. Now, this is great if you want all of your cells to be the same size. But what if you don't? What if you wanted one long cell across the top? Well, what you would do is you'd go into your code and let's make A go across the whole top. So what you want to do is you want to go into TD and use an attribute. That attribute is column span. You want the column to span all three of these cells. So the attribute is call span. So we put a space and inside the tag and type in call span. Now, one of the great things about Dreamweaver is all I have to do is type the C, and then it gives you all the C codes, attributes: class, call span, content editable, context menu, etc. We want call span, so I just click on that, and there it puts in call span equals and the two quotes. We want A to span these three cells, so we're going to put a 3 in there. Now, as you can see, A spans 3 cells, but we still have B and C over here, and we don't want that. We just want these 6 cells with one long one across the top. So let's go into our code and take out D or C and B. Okay, and as you can see in our live view, it's changed to one across. So as you can see, this is why having the live view live is very helpful. We may want that A to be in the middle, so we'd use an align attribute and align it to the center. So I'm going to put in align, A, align, center. And as you can see, that moves the A to the center. Okay, so far so good. Now what if we wanted one row, or sorry, one column to be, um, you know, up and down. So say we want A across the top and D taking up these two cells. Well, that would be a row span. So if we tell one cell to span multiple columns, that's a call span. If we want one cell to span multiple rows, we call it a row span. So let's go to D and put in the attribute for row span, RO, and then as you can see, row span pops up. I click that. I want it to span two cells, so I'll put a 2 in here. And then we want to get rid of G because it's we want D to span those two. So let's get rid of G. Save that. And then real-time preview in Safari. We bring it up, you can see that D now spans two rows, or two rows, yeah, and A spans 3 columns. Okay, so that is basically how you format stuff. You already know how to change your background color, change the spacing in between here, add a border, and how to make these different columns different sizes. So basically, that's 90% of what you need to know for most tables that you'll ever be called on to do. There's obviously a lot more to formatting tables, but that's all that we really need to know as far as this class goes. If you want more, if you think you want to do more work with tables, I can provide you with some more information on tables. But for now, let's call that done. And I'm going to save this. And I will, I've already saved it. So I will have up later in the week, we'll start working with CSS.